Hey there, this is your host Brian, and I'd like to introduce you to our special guest today, Paul Beauchemin of PI Profits Agency. Paul Beauchemin brings deep business experience into the private investigator industry. He is president of PI Profits, a results-oriented marketing, sales, and customer service agency dedicated exclusively to private investigators. He is the creator of the Genius Minds of Investigation project and also previously created and launched Sherlock Docs, an online tool to help PIs create reports and share them with clients using 21st century technology. Today's topic is the right way to use a website for investigator marketing. Paul, thank you so much for being with us here today.
Glad to be with you, Brian.
Oh, and I'm glad to be here too, Paul. Now, we really only have three primary questions to go over, so we'll have plenty of time to expand on them. And I know that, like usual, we're going to get lots of value out of these to give to your well, not just your, but our listeners here. So how about you say we just get right into it?
Sure, let's go.
All right, so the first question is, how do private investigators do marketing now?
Well, primarily here, I want to talk about how they attract clients through their website. So the way the world works now, in the old days, you'd have a Yellow Pages ad and potential clients would call you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now if you have an ad, you basically attract people. They go to your website. That's the first thing in this new age of the web, I guess they call it Web 2.0, is people go to the website and they search you out. They want to get educated. Most of the clients that private investigators have are what I call high-value clients. They're not somebody buying, a $20 or $30 item like at the grocery store where you just go in and make a decision. These are people that are spending anywhere from several hundred to several $1,000s on business expenses. So they want to educate themselves. High-value clients, their thing today is they go to a website to educate themselves, and they do research, and they look at the different companies that provide the services. So the way that I would say, and I haven't looked at all 8,000 or 9,000 PI websites in the U.S., but I've looked at hundreds, and I have not yet seen any that do it the right way. What typically is done is a private investigation firm will attract traffic through advertising. Could be the Yellow Pages, could be PPC, could be an ad in a trade magazine or whatever market they're attempting to attract to them. And so let's say 1,000 people see the ad. Well, then out of those 1,000, maybe 100 might go to the website. Mm-hmm. And what happens is that when they go to the website, they see that the investigators talking about themselves or their experience or how many years they had as a police officer or whatever. And they just fill out this contact us form, and that's it, or a telephone number. And so what happens is that, you only have somewhere around 5 to 8 seconds for a visitor to decide whether or not they're going to continue to peruse your website. It's called the bounce rate. If anybody looks at their analytics report, they see they typically have a very high bounce rate. Maybe 80-90% of people come and spend 5 seconds on the website and go right back to the search results. And so out of all the 100 people that come to a website, you may have less than 1%, maybe less than 0.5% that actually will fill out a form or contact them. So the investigator that's spending all this money for their advertising is losing 100 or 98 or 99 people that come to their website because there's no way for those people that are not desperately going to hire you right at this moment to interact with you and to find out more. So basically, they're just shredding their cash. Their advertising dollars are just like throwing money in the trash can. And so that's what I mean by why they're doing it the wrong way.
So really, it's overall, the efficiency is just horrible.
Right. They don't have a lot of the good things that successful businesses that use the web have. And, I spent many years doing something called Six Sigma. I'm not sure many listeners will know. GE kind of made it famous, but Six Sigma practices are basically they look at the best practices in a business. And one of the things I do is a lot of times I'll go and look at what is the best practice for a particular skill needed. If it's accounting, who's the best in the world at accounting? You go look at that. If it's sales, you go look at a company that's the best in the world in sales, and you try to emulate those companies that are doing best. And in the private investigation world, my suggestion is they need to look at what are the best companies that use websites doing to attract and keep and convert clients to their website. And as I said, I haven't seen anybody doing marketing right on their website yet in the investigation field. And I think it's time now for PIs that have websites to go out and look at what are the best companies doing. And that's really what I want to talk about tonight.
Mm-hmm. And I know that that's also why you've dedicated so much of your time and energy to becoming an expert specifically in this, so you can help these other people, these PIs who are really either throwing their money away or they don't even have an online presence at all. And so they might not just be throwing their money into something that's not helping them whatsoever. And so
exactly.
Yeah.
I was talking to a prospect here this week, Brian, and they told me they spent last year somewhere between $10,000 and $15,000 on search engine marketing. And they said, geez, we spent all this money and we got almost no results from it. And I went to look at their website, and sure enough, they had none of the right marketing systems that I want to talk about on it. It was just a page and said, contact us. And, they were shocked that they weren't getting results, but the reason they weren't getting results because they weren't using the right marketing system on their website to convert all those eyeballs into prospects and then clients.
And I remember you and I talking about that even on landing page conversion and getting people to take action. And I know that there's ugly websites, cluttered websites, and I think the biggest offset, but a lot of PIs are confused about it, is something you just talked about here, is talking about themselves. They figure, well, these are high ticket sales, or the high end, whichever you want to say. It's not $20 or $30, it's several hundred to $1,000. So they think, oh, well, I've got to convince them that I'm the best at what I do, or that I have all the qualifications to warrant asking for this much money. And so the first thing that these private investigators end up doing is they talk about themselves. And then the people get turned off. They read a paragraph, maybe two, if that, if they haven't bounced from the site already. And then they think, wow, well, this person seems so caught up in themselves. And they don't think this consciously. It's a subconscious thing. And then they just leave and they go to their competition.
Right.
And so that leads us into, since we at least have an understanding on how not to do things, what is the right way for a private investigator to do marketing?
Okay, so the right marketing system, you need to think about your lead funnel, okay, in terms of a multi-step process. And, assuming that you're only going to convert 1% or less of the visitors to your website, you need to think about what steps do I need to take to increase that conversion, okay? So, you still get the same first part, attracting traffic. You need to attract traffic still. But then you need to capture leads, okay? And just putting a contact us box on your website does not capture leads. People are just not going to put that in unless they're ready to hire you right now. So you have to have some kind of an offer there. And I call it an irresistible offer that's going to encourage them to give you their name and their email. Because out of the 100 people that land on your webpage, 50 of them probably will buy or hire a private investigator within the next 6 to 12 months, okay? They're already thinking along these lines. For example, if you're somebody who thinks their husband or wife is cheating, Uh,
Hmm.
it didn't happen yesterday that you woke up and you said, "Oh, they're cheating." This has been something that they've been worrying about for several months probably now, because a lot of affairs last a long time. So they're not going to make a decision the first time they visit a website, and so they may, you know, look in several times at websites, and if you don't capture their name the first time, the chances of them finding you again are probably pretty low. I know how many times you've been to a website and you know, several months later thought, geez, what was that website? And you Google it or whatever, search, and you can't find it again because no time it comes up in the search results. And so you've lost that, and so you find something else. So the first thing in this funnel is you've got to capture their name and email address with an irresistible offer. And then the next step is to nurture those leads, okay? So you give them an offer. Let's say it could be if you're trying to attract people that do infidelity and trying to attract a client to do an infidelity investigation. You might offer a free report on the 7 signs that your spouse is cheating, okay? And you give them that free report, and then you put them into a nurture system. And typically, there's automated system that can do these. You can do it manually, of course, but that's pretty time-consuming if you're trying to capture a lot of leads. So a lot of people do it with an automated system called an autoresponder, and there's a bunch of companies that do this, like MailChimp and Aweber. But the idea in the nurturing part is to have a conversation with these people and give them educational material so that they can start to trust your expertise and authority. Okay, and this is how you can convert these 50 people that would have just bounced off your website. You start to nurture them, and over a period, send them an email once a month or whatever, just so, number one, your company's name is at the top of their mind. Number two, you build trust. You start to build a relationship with these people. And so when they do decide to hire somebody, your name comes up, okay? So that's the third part of the funnel. The next part is to convert them, into a client. So a lot of times after multiple contacts, you might make them an offer, something that of value. This month you can get 20% off our investigation services or something like that, or you can get a free background check. If these people are looking for, a lot of times with a infidelity investigation, it may be a case that runs $4,000 or $5,000. So if you give away something like a background check, that might be an offer that helps get them into your office, okay? And, you can learn from there to go to the next step, which is closing the sale, okay? And we've talked in the past about spin selling by...
Yes, I remember that.
And you interview them, talk about the situation, the problem, the implications of that problem, and what their needs are. And, if you develop a relationship with them over time, you can actually, have them telling you the benefits of them hiring you. And they'll actually turn around. You don't have to sell them because they'll be selling themselves on your services because you've gone through this whole funnel over a period of time. You've nurtured them. You've offered them something of value. And now, you're going through this spin process where you're analyzing their situation and they're identifying the problems and what the implications are, and then what their needs are, and they come up with that. And, the final part of the funnel is referral. So once you have them as a client, then you go and you set up a systematic way to help them refer friends, people they know, business partners to you, okay? So that's the right way to do marketing on a website. Go through that 7-step process instead of the 3 steps where they come there, they look around, or they bounce off, and they contact us, but there's no reason for them. They're not ready to buy or hire you yet. Whereas the whole nurturing process, where you can get their names and emails with an irresistible offer, nurture them, give them education, build trust, build credibility, build authority, and then bring them into your sphere. And because, the fact is, if you really believe in what you're doing, if you believe that you really can help them, then you owe it to them to give them the best information you have and, have them hire you. Okay? That's the bottom line.
And it seems like there's a lot of PI, well, a lot of people in general, but I know that PIs are among them, who have this sort of aversion, and we talked about this before. They say that, oh no, I don't want to hard sell these people, as if you're doing something bad, but really you're offering them a service that, firstly, they want it. They're looking for it. They're hungry for it, and clearly this is what they want. But if you put yourself in the way, so you're the one to offer it, then you win and so do they. They get what they want, and you get to earn income, your business thrives, and you get to grow.
Right.
Exactly. And so also on that, since I know you said the 7 steps, and when you list it out like that to a private investigator who isn't familiar with these, I know it may sound intimidating. And maybe, I think maybe it is a little bit, just if you're not familiar with it. I know, because you start talking about autoresponders and advertising and landing pages, and if someone doesn't know what these things are, they're like, oh my God, look at all these things that I got to get into. But it is one of those things that you do it once and the work's done, and you get to enjoy the fruits of your labor over and over again. And I think that's important for private investigators to understand, is that it's not some recurring cycle that they have to constantly keep doing on top of the PI work that they do. It's that they get this done, they do their marketing properly, get their website done properly, and their advertising. And sure, you might have to make adjustments to advertising a little bit down the road, but you're not going to have to repeat this entire cycle over and over and over again. You're going to get to focus on what you do best, and that's the private investigator marketing. Would you say that's so?
Right. And the way you need to think about that, Brian, is you need to think about certain things as assets, okay? Like a list is an asset for your business, just like a building or a camera or whatever. It's an asset. Anytime you create a list, the bigger and bigger your list, the bigger your asset is, because these are all prospects. An autoresponder.
You do mean an email list, right?
Yeah, an email list. Yeah.
Okay,
and
just for our
too.
listeners. Yeah, for our listeners to understand, like, lists, what are they? Yeah, you just told us, the 7 steps, that's a list. No, an email list of subscribers, of people who are on your mailing list, so you can get in contact with them whenever you want.
Right. So,
there we go.
A mailing list of any kind is an asset. An autoresponder series, that's an asset in your business. I mean, you create the asset one time and it works for you, okay? It creates money for you. It builds your pipeline. These are assets you build, and it pays off, just like investing in the stock market or whatever, something like that, or investing in rental property. You build an asset, and it has a return for you. You get a return on that investment for building that asset. So yeah, it's one time. It's a little bit of work to set up an autoresponder the first time and write a series of 5 to 7 emails, let's say, and there's people that can help you with that, but once you build that asset, it stays and it converts this pipeline of people that come into your website into a steady stream of clients, and that's what you want.
Exactly, and you're turning what you can call cold prospects into warm prospects. In regards to selling, it's not. It's a major advantage over something like, being a salesman on a car lot, where there's people who come in and you're like, oh, okay, now I really got to make a good impression. I got to try and sell this car today. And I think and you might actually have the actual number here, but I think 10% or so might actually return when they say they will, and the rest just tend to, they go about their business and they forget all about you. But this way, you're injected into the person's life. You are in their inbox, and you're sending them helpful things, you're providing value, and you're building trust. So it's not that you're bothering these people. It's they were looking for something from you in the first place, and you're giving them the value that they wanted, and they're starting to see, hey, you're a really cool guy to work with. You seem to offer exactly what I'm looking for, so why not do business?
Yeah, I think that word is key right there. You're not, if you just send an email and our response says, hey, are you ready to hire me yet? That's not building value. So you want to build value in these emails that you send out in your autoresponder. You build value by educating these people about their particular needs. So whatever it is that they're looking for, and you might have several irresistible offers. Some might be for surveillance, some might be for fraud investigations, some might be for espionage. It depends on the services that you're providing. But each one of these, you provide value in each email to that prospect, and that value it plays upon one of Cialdini's principles of persuasion. That's called reciprocity. So if you keep providing something to people, they feel obligated to use you later, and that's a key persuasion technique as well. Then.
I think you talked to me about that before, about why salesmen, especially high-end home salesmen, they will take a potential client out to dinner and pay for the dinner themselves, and the client feels obligated to reciprocate, and that comes in the form of the sale typically.
Right, that's right.
Yes. So there's a final question here. How can you apply these ideas to a PI website?
Okay. Well, there's a multi-step checklist I have when I look at a website. So, number one, when you click on a website, you've got 5 to 8 seconds to keep people there. So the first thing that you need on a website is a good headline. When you look at the newspaper or something every day, right?
Yes.
The headline is what captures your attention and probes you to read further in that article. And if you don't have a good headline, you're not going to keep people attracted. So the first thing is, on any page, not just on your home page, but every page needs to have a good headline that draws people into wanting to read more. Okay? That's the first thing I look for. Second thing is something that we talked about earlier, and that's customer-oriented copy. So almost every website I look at has copy. The copy, in other words, the paragraphs that are under the headline, that are about the investigator. I'm experienced for 30 years at this. I know surveillance like the back of my hand. I have been doing these investigations I was an ex-police officer. I this, I that. Customers don't care about, your clients don't care about that. They want to know about their problems and what you can do, what benefits that you can provide to solve their problems. The other thing is, even if an investigator in their copy does offer something besides talking about them, they often talk about their features. In other words, their skills. Okay, we're super skilled at photographing things without being noticed. Okay, that's a benefit. That's a feature, not a benefit. So you want to have in your copy the benefits. Okay, what's in it for the client on the website? How is it going to help them solve the problem? They don't care if you have, the best, GPS system in the world or whatever. They want to know, that you're going to know, you have to tell them everywhere that their cheating spouse went, exactly, and that you can assure them 100% accuracy, whatever, that you know what they're doing. So what's in it for the client, not what's in it, not being about the investigator, okay? Mm-hmm. Another thing I look for is simple navigation. That's pretty good. I look at the design. There's some designs that are terrible, but design is one thing. And investigators that are think they're web savvy, they'll hire a great designer, and you'll look at this website and they'll go, "Wow, that's really a fancy website." And they pay all this attention to design, but really, design is a very small part in keeping the eyeballs there. It's nice to have a good design, but it's not critical. A poorly designed website with great headlines and good copy is going to convert 100 times better than a great design without the good headlines and customer-oriented copy. Mm-hmm. So another step is that I look for is, do they have a call to action, or is it just contact us? So we talked about having an irresistible offer. So you want to have a lead capture, a place for lead capture on your website with an irresistible offer and a call to action that says, just insert your name and email right here, and we're going to send you this unbelievable report on the 7 ways you can find out if your spouse is cheating. So that's what I mean by a call to action. It motivates the person looking at that web page to do something, to take action. I think where a lot of PIs miss the boat is that they don't have customer testimonials or case studies. Sometimes, I talk to PIs who say, well, I have a lot of clients, they don't want to give me a testimonial, and I understand that. If you're been involved with something like a cheating spouse, you don't want to put your name. But you can do a case study and use, change the names to protect the innocent or whatever. But putting together a case study, some case studies on your site, is a great way to do some social proof. Okay, that's another one of Robert Cialdini's persuasion techniques he talks about, is having social proof. And that's what customer testimonials are good for, is social proof as well. So a lot of people won't take action unless they know somebody else has already taken action. They want proof that they're not fools or idiots by hiring you as a PI. They want to know that they're making the right decision. And using social proof is really the way to do that. And customer testimonials or case studies help you to create that social proof. So those are the things I look for on a website. And I can tell you with, that I have not ever looked at one that had all these in the PI field. I see a lot in other fields, and that's where I get this information. Other businesses have figured out and mastered this, especially information marketing people. They really get this. But private investigators are a little bit, they haven't quite get this. A lot of them have some nice design websites. Some of them even have a blog or something, or customer testimonials I see on occasion, on a rare occasion. But they don't have lead capture. They don't have irresistible offers. They don't have customer-oriented copy. And they don't use very good headlines.
And so a combination of all that stuff together just leads to disaster, like the PI you told me you talked to, who ended up spending $15,000 and got practically zero returns as a result.
Well, he had a return. He said he had a lot of credit card debt.
So
a negative return.
Okay, so I guess something came of it. Not exactly what he was looking for, but there you have it. And even as you talk about this, you give everything out in such a list format. It's very well organized. And I know in the past we've talked about things like systems and the power of you and the customer focus, and even having all the different autoresponders to cater to different parts of your PI business. So you segregate things into, say, here's cheating spouses over here, and here's surveillance over here, here's background checks over here, and you put yourself in front of a hungry market. And a lot of PIs, I remember you told me you found a very, very great website, and there was just so much that the private investigator offered that it gave overwhelm to anyone who went on there. So sorry, go on.
I didn't even touch upon segmenting your list, but yes, that's one of the things that you need to do. Because every one of the different skill sets or that a PI offers is not going to appeal to everybody. So a person looking to solve this problem with employees that are supposedly disabled does not need the same education that someone that is worried about a cheating spouse. So you need to segment the list into each category and appeal directly to that person, because you have to talk in their language and not in a broad general language.
It's you told me you put yourself in front of a hungry audience, and I've heard it put in a way that a lot of the PIs, when you say, or how you told me that when they say, oh, well, I have all this experience, it's kind of like if you have a man crawling out of the desert and he's dying of thirst and you have water, it's as if you're telling him how great the water is and, where the water was produced and why he should buy it and all the other things. He doesn't care. He just wants that water. It's a pain, and you have the cure. And too many private investigators end up getting caught up in trying to sell the water to somebody who already needs it desperately, rather than just getting to it. And I know that this just opens up for a whole nother conversation, and I really want our listeners to get the absolute most value we can, but we really are running out of time here. So is there any closing thoughts here, Paul?
Well, as I said at the beginning, when you look around at other industries, you want to look for the best practices, okay? And you have to realize today, again, as I mentioned, you're selling a high-value service, okay? It's not something like you go to the grocery store and you just say, I'll have, 2 oranges and some bananas and a piece of steak. You're selling something that's hundreds of thousands of dollars. And so people today, what the web has done is it raised the level of consciousness of people, and they research everything online now. And so you need to have an online presence that can address that need that people have to educate themselves before they make a decision. And that's really what we're talking about here, a way to help you educate people about your business so that you can convert not just, one person out of every 200, but 50 people out of every 100 that come to your website into clients. And that's where your business is going to grow exponentially.
Definitely, Paul. So I think I need to wrap things up here. And if you are listening to this interview and you'd like to learn more about how to grow your private investigator business, Paul has generously offered a free 30-minute best practice marketing investigation briefing for listeners of this interview. In this briefing, Paul will help you identify what might be the biggest holes in your marketing strategy, as well as the biggest opportunities for additional profit in your PI business. Keep in mind that spots are limited and will be made available on a first-come, first-served basis. If you are interested or even just curious to learn more, then sign up for one of these spots and reserve a free one-on-one marketing briefing call with Paul at no cost at easypiprofits.com. Once again, that's easypiprofits, all one word, .com. And I highly recommend that if you really are serious about your business, that you take advantage of this, because Paul definitely knows his stuff. So thank you so much for being with us here today, all our listeners, and thank you, Paul. It's been a real pleasure.
It's been a pleasure talking with you, Brian. You have a good day.